Today I want to talk about a narrative that's driving me crazy, annoying me a little bit. So I've been going around looking at comments in my comment section and also comments from videos around YouTube just about the Hurricanes and Bama being selected over the Hurricanes. So there's this narrative that's been going around. I want to make sure I talk about it because it's annoying me. I want to explain why it annoys me so much. And then I'll talk about why I believe the Hurricanes really did get shafted when it comes to Bama getting the selection over our football team. So, my name is Jordan Harris. I'm your favorite host in the entire world. This is Sports Truth. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. We've been getting a lot of support lately, so I appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. Everybody's leaving comments, sharing it with your friends. I really appreciate the support, so thank y'all. So, what is this narrative? The narrative that's driving me crazy is people keep saying, if we would have just handled business, we wouldn't have to worry about the selection committee. And look, I come from the world of sports too. I grew up playing sports. I actually can appreciate that comment. I can appreciate that statement because I actually had that thought process too. Like, man, if we would have just won these last couple of games towards the end of the season, we don't leave the game in the ref's hands, right? That's what people say. And I've said that before. I said that in my most recent video. But it seems like every other comment that I'm seeing, whether it's on mine or it's Locked On Canes, which I like watching Alex Dino quite a bit, the comments continue to say, we shouldn't complain. We only have ourselves to blame. If we'd have just taken care of business, we wouldn't have to worry about the selection committee not choosing us. So I'm going to explain why that annoys me, okay? Again, I come from the world of sports. I can appreciate that. I'm in the world of business as well. I'm sure y'all have Googled me before. If I'm not going to tell you what I do in business, but my name is Jordan Harris. I live in Wichita, Kansas. You can Google it and you can see I'm not one to make excuses. I make results. You can find it out yourself if you just do a quick Google search. But anyway, I'm all about results. I don't like making excuses. But for these folks who continue to say, if we would have just taken care of business, we wouldn't have anything to worry about. My statement to you is, I believe we did take care of business. We were 10-2 in the third best conference in college football. We won 10 football games. And I know a lot of people assume that it's easy to win football games. It's not, especially in this atmosphere. With the transfer portal, what happened is it created a level of parity that we've never seen before. We've never seen this level of parity. And when I talk about level of parity, what I mean is gone are the days where Syracuse football is full of 3- and 2-star football players. It's done. That does not happen anymore. So whenever you walk into Syracuse home field and people are assuming it's going to be an easy victory, I'm like, it's not going to be an easy victory. Their quarterback was the quarterback for Ohio State. He was a 4-star quarterback coming out of high school. He's a 4-star transfer. These wide receivers that they have, they're not 2- and 3-star athletes. These are high-level athletes that we're playing against now. So gone are the days where all of the good players are on Alabama and Georgia's roster. That's gone. Those players who don't get to play in the first year or two, they transfer to programs like Georgia Tech. They transfer to programs like Syracuse. So there's hidden gems all across the country. So whenever people say, oh, if we were just taking care of business against a sorry Georgia Tech team or a sorry Syracuse team, newsflash, those teams are not sorry. Those wins are not easy. They're just not. So if you're thinking that the Hurricanes just blew it or they weren't trying to win or whatever this narrative is false, and we got to chill with that. In my eyes, we did what we were supposed to do. Like, sure, were we upset? Yeah, we were upset. Cool. But we won 10 games out of 12. We were 10-2. So now we put that resume against everyone else's resume, and it's the college football playoff committee's job to put the best resume into the playoff system. And I feel like that just did not happen this time. So let's go ahead and talk about a couple of things. Well, 3 different things in which why I feel like we kind of got shafted. Not even kind of. I feel like we really got shafted in this situation. First thing is when Bama lost to OU, Bama dropped 6 spots. Bama didn't lose a close game. It wasn't like they lost by 3 points or lost by 4 points. Like our Hurricanes lost these couple of games against Georgia Tech and Syracuse. They lost by 20 plus points to an OU team that was terrible this year. They were fighting to be 500 all year. They were fighting for bowl eligibility all season. Bama gets beat by this OU team, and somehow they drop just 6 spots. Hurricanes lose to a highly competitive 9-3 Syracuse team that's now ranked, that also has the most passing yards in the nation. We lose to that team, and we drop all the way back, like out of the race. We're out. It's crazy to me. How does that work, right? So you also look at Michigan, beat Ohio State. Michigan is not ranked. They beat Ohio State, and Ohio State was at home. They dropped 4 spots. How does that make sense? Ohio State loses at home to an unranked Michigan, and they drop 4 spots. Hurricanes lose on the road to a team that has the most passing yards in the nation, and we drop out of the playoff picture. How does that make sense? Then the last thing that I want to talk about is, I'm sure this is kind of hard to see, but what it is it shows 3 snakes eating each other. So you'll see this snake here. It's got Alabama's logo on it. This is the snake's head. It's eating the tail of the South Carolina snake. This snake is eating the tail of the Ole Miss snake, and it just goes around and around, right? So this is how I envision Alabama, South Carolina, and Ole Miss. They all had 3 losses. They're all playing in the same conference, which is the SEC conference. They all have bad, inexcusable losses. You've got Ole Miss, who loses to Florida, and then the Hurricanes beat the brakes off of Florida. You've got Alabama, who lost to OU, which is crazy. South Carolina, they just looked pitiful at the beginning of the season. They came on strong towards the end of the season. But what I'm showing in this graph but what I'm showing in this picture that I created, it's 3 snakes eating each other. So if you look at this, which snake is in the best position? Which of these 3 snakes would you think is in the best position? If you're looking at Alabama, you say, oh, Alabama's in the best position because they're eating South Carolina, right? No, because they're being eaten by Ole Miss. So that's how I looked at their situation. It's like all 3 of those teams, they all have bad losses. They got the same amount of losses. They've got the same amount of wins, and they play in the same conference. How could you pick any of those 3 and say this team is actually in the best position when they're all eating someone and being eaten at the exact same time? How do you pick one of those teams being better than the other one? So Hurricanes, I think we have and that's part of why I felt like we were going to be selected in this selection committee thing, because I'm like, there's one Hurricanes team and we've got 2 losses. These other 3 teams are all bunched up eating each other with 3 losses. There's no way they can separate those 3. So they're just going to say, instead of dealing with this conundrum with these 3 teams, let's just go ahead and put the 2-loss Hurricanes team in there. That's what I figured they would do. But somehow, some way, they decided that Alabama is in a better position than Ole Miss and South Carolina. How did they come up with that? I honestly have no idea. They said that they chose Alabama over the Hurricanes because they had 2 reasons. Top 25, the record against top 25 teams, they said that. And then they also said because the Hurricanes had 2 losses in the last 3 games, and Alabama had 2 wins in the last 2 games. So if the last few games matters, then you would think they would put South Carolina in front of Alabama, because South Carolina's won 6 games in a row or something like that. So wouldn't you think South Carolina should be over Alabama if the last few games matter? It doesn't make sense. I wish I could sit in the room and speak to these folks so I could explain to them, what you're saying, I can kind of hear it. I hear what you're trying to say, but it doesn't make logical sense. There's loopholes all over the place in what you're saying. Also, when you look at Alabama's last few games, let me pull up who they played the last 3 games, because the guy did say that he faulted the Hurricanes for losing twice in the last 3 games. And he said Alabama won twice the last 2 games. So if you look at who Alabama played the last 3 games, they played Auburn, who was, I think, 5-7 on the season. They beat them. They lost to Oklahoma 24-3. They scored 3 points against Oklahoma, a team that doesn't even have any defense. And then they also beat Mercer 52-7. So Alabama beat the last 3 games. They beat Mercer and they beat Auburn, and they lost to Oklahoma. And the Hurricanes lost to Georgia Tech, which is a team that took Georgia all the way to the brink, 8 overtimes. And then we lost to Syracuse, a team that has the most passing yards in all of college football. Make it make sense, man. Just please make it make sense to me. Once again, the main reason why I wanted to make this video is because this narrative that keeps getting thrown out it's just annoying me a little bit. People keep saying, if we would have just taken care of business, we wouldn't have anything to worry about. That phrase, what it reminds me of is people who watch basketball and they say, oh, this dude keeps missing free throws. They're free. Have you played basketball before? Have you went and shot free throws before? They're free shots. They're not free points. I always explain that to people. Free shots are different than free points. That means you get a free shot at the goal. No one's going to interfere with it. It doesn't mean that they're giving you those points. Nothing's given here. When you're playing football or basketball, nothing is given. It's all earned. So whenever a team goes 10-2, I think that's a heck of a season, especially when they're playing in the third best conference in college football, if you ask me. So that's all that I got for you today. Once again, my name is Jordan Harris. I appreciate you watching this. I appreciate the comments and the support. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I truly appreciate that. So take care. God bless. Peace.